my dear viewers? Beginning today is the official Alliteration Gaming Patreon and channel members. Throughout my Patreon, we've got quite a few tiers you can check out in order to gain special perks and even commission videos that you'd like to see me upload onto the channel. Every tier includes a shout out on my supporter card at the beginning of all of my videos, along with the benefits of the tier itself. Following that, you can now also join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on the YouTube side of things. Pledging your subscription here as a member of the channel is going to grant you the same shout out on my supporter card as all the Patreon tiers do, as well as access to the members only channel on my Discord. You'll gain a member badge that will level up as you stay subscribed and access to my exclusive emotes when I stream on YouTube. If you're interested in checking out the Patreon, I'm going to have the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below, as well as the link to my Discord should you want to join that as well. And if you want to become a channel member, the big, beautiful join button is front and center on my homepage right here. And if you do decide to support the channel in any way whatsoever, know that I am unimaginably grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with even more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and today I'm bringing y'all another episode of Should It Be Banned? In the event that you're new here, or you just don't remember, a couple weeks ago, I dropped a really interesting and kind of controversial video of Faith Shield, and just basically opening up the general discussion of should it be banned or not. And I dropped that video for a couple of reasons. First of all, I had that conversation with a bunch of intelligent individuals, and I thought it was just really interesting and a little more layered than a lot of people have given it credit to. And so I thought it would be really fun to share that conversation and kind of open up that discussion with y'all. And secondly, it's just been one of those really widely debated and hot topics. Not so much now as it was back in like the meta, where like the symbols on that card were even more relevant than they are today, but it's still definitely something that comes up every now and then, and I just thought it would be something that I could deliver to the community and kind of get a little bit more traction on, and see if we can really decide and come to that end-all be-all conclusion on whether or not the card should be legal or not. And so if you want to check out the conclusion that we came to and just experience the discussion as a whole, I'm going to have the video linked down below in the comments section and in the description. Moreover, that video was received very well. There was a lot of really fun and positive discussion going on in the comments section. So in the interest of promoting even more healthy discussion, I've got another card for us to talk about today. Faith Shield, as much as I've talked about it, is not the subject of today's video. Today, we are going to be discussing a brand new culprit. We have a new card standing trial that many out there believe does way too much, and that card is none other than Seizing the Advantage. Seizing the Advantage is a 3 difficulty action card that checks a 5 with a +2 mid block. It's got 2 extremely strong abilities. The first is a form. Simply playing this card allows you to grant your next attack 2 speed, and then when you play that said next attack, or actually any attack really, if it's in the card pool, you can go ahead and build it face down right away and target flip any of your rival's foundations. This card is maniacal. Funny story actually, when this card first got revealed, I just kind of had forgotten that class lineup was a thing, and this card got revealed and I was like, oh, this is the set 3 only character card of this set. Okay, this is pretty strong. Then I think that was just like the copium of my mind trying to justify what I was reading, because then when I looked back and read it again, I was like, oh wait, no, everyone can use this? Everyone can use this? And ever since that day, I knew that this card was going to be absolutely everywhere. This is, in my opinion, the single-handedly strongest card in all of Heroes Clash, and it's definitely a contender for strongest card in the game. Seizing the Advantage is just such a generically powerful tool that I can't imagine any deck on these 3 symbols not playing at least 3 or probably even 4 copies of it. Speaking of those symbols, there's some very good ones, guys. Similar to the Faith Shield issue, air, earth, and fire are insanely powerful symbols. Earth is probably still the strongest symbol in the game right now, and air and fire have never really been slouches and are definitely just coming up more and more every single set. Being able to selectively flip your rival's foundations on 3 symbols that can already interact with your rival's board, air being able to selectively commit them, earth being able to flip more as well, and fire being able to do a ton of destruction on them is just such a powerful stacking of abilities. Moreover, the card is absolutely free. Like literally, worst case scenario, it is free. Best case scenario, you go even positive. If you play this on a 3 and then you play your next attack on +1 progressive difficulty and you check poorly and you have to commit 1 extra resource because of the progressive difficulty, well, this builds in face down and ready. So right away, you're going to get that resource that you replaced. Moreover, if you play like a 4 difficulty attack on a 5 with this in your card pool, check the 5, you actually go +1 on ready foundations in your stage. all while getting to do something that Apathetic, a card that is a 4-check foundation and has a +3 high block and needs to do it as an enhance, you get to do all of that card's things with 0 of those drawbacks, and you get to do it at instant response speed. Like, your rival can destroy your Apathetic in some way before you get to use it. They can seal your Apathetic, right? Like, there's interactions there. No, this is instant response speed with 0 statistical drawbacks on the card like Apathetic has. This gets check a 5 and be a very playable +2 mid block, all while maintaining the same power level of that card in even superior fashion. The only time you'd rather have Apathetic in your hand over this is when you're opening your hand on turn 1 and all you can do is build foundations. Then you can't build this. That's the only time this ever has any drawbacks whatsoever, and I really don't think that that's quite enough to justify it. Being in action is just not enough to justify how insane this is compared to other things across the game. Now, with all that being said, the MHA CCG is a card game all about interactions and being able to control what your rival is doing through careful application and proper deck building. So what are the ways to counter Season the Advantage? How do we deal with this card being so powerful? Well, there are a couple of things in the game, but overall, they're really not that great. First of all, if we're looking to actually negate this ability itself, there's only a couple ways to do it, and they don't really make the mark in my opinion. Mentor Legacy Punch and Evil versus Good are 2 examples of very, very cumbersome ways to cancel this ability. There's not that many ways to cancel responsibilities in the MHA CCG right now, but those are 2 of them, and while they're a little awkward, they do get the job done. The big issue when looking at Season the Advantage is those cards don't clear it from the card pool, so if you cancel the response, your rival can simply play another attack while that sits there in the card pool and then still get this ability off. So that risk, combined with how awkward those cards are to use in that faction, really, I don't think justify a whole lot of counterplay when it comes to something like Season the Advantage. Now, what about just getting our foundation flipped as a whole? Well, there are a couple ways to answer that. Struggling with Studies and Chivalrous Competitor are 2 cards that have the ability to prioritize themselves getting flipped when your rival would be flipping any of your foundations. So they can sit there on the board and kind of protect your key pieces from being targeted down like this, which is very, very strong, I will say. If anything, it's even more of a testament to how powerful Season the Advantage is, because the entire Nationals meta when Heroes Clash first dropped was revolved around decks playing for Season the Advantage, and then decks being able to play combinations of Chivalrous Competitor and Struggling with Studies. That's one of the things that made the Chaos symbol so strong, was that it got both of those cards. Because Season the Advantage was such a powerful and known pivotal card of the format, if your deck didn't have access to a Struggling with Studies or a Chivalrous Competitor symbol, it was really hard to find your way into the format because you just could not protect yourself from this card. Even worse, if you also didn't have a Season the Advantage symbol, so you weren't abusing this card, your deck probably just wasn't in a really good spot, to be honest. Everyone and their mother knows that I'm one of the most dedicated Eraserhead 1 players around, and a lot of people, including myself, consider the void symbol on that character to barely even be playable right now because it doesn't have a way to protect its really key pieces like Spooky from being targeted down by Season the Advantage. And that is honestly just an insane amount of influence that this card has on the format and what decks and builds are considered playable as a whole. While Chivalrous Competitor and Struggling with Studies do help quite a lot against this card, those are only 2 cards and they don't even cover half the symbols in the game. So a ton of decks out there, when it comes to dealing such a powerful and heavily played card like this, are just left out in the rain to suffer. So it probably seems like I'm being extremely critical of Season the Advantage right now, and it's probably pretty obvious what side of its legality argument that I'm airing on. But let's talk about it a little more, right? This is a discussion, right? Should it be banned is the question, but it's the question that the discussion poses. So let's talk a little bit more about it. Should Season the Advantage be banned? My answer personally is a very, very tentative yes. Now, I say tentative because I think this is simply a card that we weren't quite ready for yet. Now, what do I mean when I say we weren't quite ready for it yet? Well, in case you didn't know, this is actually a huge callback to a standard card. The Hunt for Spiders and Dragons is a foundation with the exact same ability as this card. It's also got a pretty powerful response that can be played from the stage, but Season the Advantage trades out that response for a form ability so that you're actually able to put this card into your card pool since it's not a foundation. That being said, they also packed +2 speed into Season the Advantage's form, which is not something that the Hunt for Spiders and Dragons did have, so they're a little different in some ways. But the point being is that this is another example of standard card design finding its way into the MHA CCG, and while I'm all for that as a whole, I think in this specific instance, we weren't quite ready for the power level of this card to be introduced into the format yet. Now, I will say, maybe like 2 or 3 sets from now, when every symbol has access to a card like Struggling with Studies or Chivalrous Competitor that can protect our foundations from being flipped, or when we have much cleaner and more efficient ways to cancel responsibilities, I think the card could be brought back for sure. But for now, I think it's really hard to justify Season the Advantage existence in the game right now. It is like the sole reason that Jiro has risen back to meta relevance and is one of the most pivotal pieces that's pushing the Earth symbol as being so strong right now. And I just think that it can't be ignored much longer, and that this card is going to continue to dominate the meta and impact everything in extremely relevant ways. Until something is done about this card, it's really hard for me to find meta relevancy in symbols that either can't protect themselves from this card or personally abuse it. Now, if you really wanted to try fixing the card, I think that's also an avenue you could take. Conceptually, I do think this card is okay. I think we just got it a little prematurely. We're not quite yet in the world of MHA CCG where we're ready for the concept of this card to exist yet. However, if you wanted to go after the balancing factors of it more, there's tons you could look at. First of all, it being an action is a nice balancing factor, but those stats have got to go. First of all, it should maybe be a little bit more expensive to play. Either make it a 4 diff maybe, or have the response built in and committed. That way, it's not very likely that you'll go plus in resources somehow, and it's a lot more likely that you may even minus somehow as well. Speaking of minusing resources, that 5 check down there could easily be a 4, and a +2 mid block is very reasonable, so that's also an angle you could attack it from there. You can maybe mess with the form, giving it only like +1 speed or something, but I think that's truly fine. The big thing here is that I think the card just doesn't have any real risks applied to it, and its stats should reflect some sort of balancing factor with that. You don't have to touch every single number on it that way. Maybe just 2 of them here and there could, I think, go a long way towards at least bringing it in line. That way, even if my symbols don't have answers to it, I at least don't feel as oppressed by it because my rival is actually having to pay for this benefit somehow. But right now, there's just 0 drawbacks to this card. Overall though, conceptually, I think the card is okay. We're just not quite ready for something like it to exist yet. So I think for now, rather than like errataing it and like neutering it in some really obscure, weird ways, I would rather it just be shelved and banned and then later on brought back out to play, released back into the wild of the game when we're in a time where the card pool has grown to be much more ready for it. And that's my entire take on Season the Advantage, guys. This is one that, if you've watched any of my ban list videos or meta discussion videos, no stranger to the thought that I really don't like this card being around. It's something I've talked about quite frequently in person and in my content, so if you're experienced with any of that, the result of this video probably wasn't very surprising. This one was a lot more concrete than the Faith Shield video. If you watch that video, I'm a little more open to a variety of avenues to pursue in balancing that card, but for Season the Advantage, I'm very confident in what I'd like to see them do with this card. Of course though, the point of this video is all about the discussion, so I really want you guys to all sound off in the comment section below on what you think should be done about this card, if anything whatsoever. I'm super excited to hear everyone's opinions and get this discussion rolling. I want to see a bunch of positive, clean, and healthy topics going on down there. Additionally, while you're down there, feel free to hit the like or dislike button and put some feedback on the video. And if you really liked what you see and you want some more of it, the subscribe button lets me push all of my MHA CCG content into your newsfeed. And if you really liked what you saw and the subscribe button just isn't enough, once again, you can further support me by clicking the links below to my Patreon and commissioning videos directly from me, or by pressing the join button and becoming a channel member, which is going to make you a member of the Alliteration Nation, unlocking hidden perks like emotes and badges, as well as enabling me to support myself doing what I love, which is making fantastic grade A content. I'm going to have the links to all of that, as well as the Faith Shield video, in the description and in the pinned comments below. Above all else though, thanks so much just for making it all the way to the end of this video. That's all the time I've got for today, but I absolutely hope I can see you in the next one.